Join us for Breakfast at Wimbledon, Saturday at 7 on TSN. You're watching TSN, Canada's sports leader, a division of Bell Media.
This is the destination for so many young basketball stars. They hope and dream that their name will be called. And tonight inside the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, this is the next wave in the NBA's young talent. It will be a night that will be bathed in various shades of their collegiate blue. And that man, Anthony Davis, will be the #1 overall pick in the draft. Everyone dressed to impress in their initial meeting with the new boss, David Stern, in the middle as these guys begin their NBA climb.
Up is not a destination. It's a direction. Difficult to take. Your strength cannot fail. Your persistence must not fade. Missteps await.
Those are plays that he needs to win. Something that you have to get better at.
And the winds of fate can change anywhere, at any time along the way. Going up sounds so simple, but there are forces at work that can turn a simple climb
Unimaginable tragedy suffered by a young man
into the challenge of a lifetime. The goal is reachable, but for a price. You pay with hours of isolation, working on your game, years of determination to harden your resolve. Now, after so long a time, you may reach the pedestal that inspired your climb. Feel proud.
The title has returned to its old Kentucky home.
Enjoy it for now. Because the only way to go from here is still up.
Welcome to the 2012 NBA Draft presented by State Farm. In the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey, the now former home of the Nets, stands starting to fill up as they hope to get a glimpse of the next wave of stars on what should be a most intriguing night. I know there's not a lot of drama at #1. Anthony Davis will go first. After that, get ready for plenty of movement on the draft board. Glad to have you with us tonight. I'm Maurice Davis. I've got lottery picks all over the place. Chris Broussard, Jeff Van Gundy, and Jay Billis here on the main set. And I must say, all of you look very nice. It's first-round draft suit you're wearing there, Billis.
Yeah, not quite as nice as what they had up on the stage. Well, not quite as nice as yours, although you're going a little conservative with the pocket square. I'm a little disappointed in it.
I'm disappointed that Van Gundy has no pocket square right now. I thought we were going to work on that
last
yesterday.
night. What happened?
Funds are low.
Are you saying your broadcasting career is not quite the Knicks paycheck necessarily?
It is not. It is not.
We have plenty of headlines in this 2012 draft coming up. Certainly it starts at the top. New Orleans has the #1 pick. They're going to take Anthony Davis. He's going to join Magic, Danny Manning, James Worthy, and Kareem as guys to win a national championship and then go #1 overall. Kentucky, North Carolina could set records for number of guys drafted, but the draft really starts when the Charlotte Bobcats go on the clock. Who will they take at #2? What type of movement might they employ with the #2 pick in the draft when Michael Jordan's team is officially put on the clock? And that'll be a little over a half an hour from now. We're going to keep you up to date on what's going on all across the league. We'll start in New Orleans at #1 and then move on to Charlotte. Janine Edwards is in the Crescent City. George Smith is watching the Bobcats. We'll get things started with Janine as they are awaiting the official arrival of Anthony Davis.
That's right, Reese. And, you know, the Hornets are poised for the most important draft in their franchise history. And just beyond this door, they have transformed their locker room into their war room. And they have fielded a lot of offers for that #10 pick. But GM Dell Demps tells me they intend to keep it. Now, they have decided Will they go big? Will they go small? But today, an important step. They filed a qualifying offer to starting guard Eric Gordon, officially making him a restricted free agent. They had said that that was a priority. So whoever joins Anthony Davis as the newest Hornet is going to hit the ground running here tomorrow morning in New Orleans, because the first stop, the first order of business, even before the introductory press conference, is a surprise community service visit to a kids' basketball camp. Now for the latest with the Bobcats, here's George Smith.
Well, and there's a lot of buzz happening around here right now. Of course, lots of rumors swirling. But as was reported earlier, there are talks going on between the Cavaliers and the Bobcats. Under one scenario, the Bobcats would send the 2nd and 31st pick to the Cavs for the 4th, 24th, and 33rd picks. No one here is confirming or denying anything. They're hunkered down right now. We haven't been able to talk to any officials here for a couple of hours, with the draft just 30 minutes away and that pick about 30 minutes away. There's a lot that's very fluid. We did have a chance to talk with new head coach Mike Dunlap about a couple of hours ago, just about the type of player he likes. He said he really loves athletic players who are in great shape. He wants to play attack basketball. So whoever the pick is, or the picks, they'll better be ready to run when they come here, Reese.
Yeah, George, for sure. Coaches love the guys who will be willing to get up and down the floor. It's probably worth noting here as we talk about trades. In the NBA, the draft order is locked in. All trades that we talk about tonight will be proposed deals until the league officially signs off on them. That's when they'll become official. So, in essence, we could have one team making picks for another one. And on that subject, we're joined by our news guys, Rick Bucher and Andy Katz. Andy, what else can you add to the Bobcat situation right now?
Well, as George said, this is a very fluid situation, and a high-level source has told me that Charlotte is reviewing that deal with Cleveland. But what's interesting here, initially it was for Charlotte to take Bradley Beal at number 2, and then at number 4, Cleveland would take Thomas Robinson for them. But a high-level source has told me that Washington would disrupt that at number 3 and take Thomas Robinson ahead of that number 4 pick. But another source said that that's okay with Charlotte. The deal still could go on. But adding more intrigue, Rick, is that there is another deal that Charlotte is working on, not just this one, with Cleveland.
Yeah, and they've talked to a number of teams. Houston has tried to move up there. Houston has tried to move into a couple places. The tricky part here is that while there are a lot of teams that are interested in the number 2 pick, they are asking that that team take on Tyrese Thomas or Matt Carroll. That's an awful lot of money. Those are big contracts. And then they want another quality player thrown in there. So it's a matter of what the asking price is, whether they're actually going to be able to move this pick.
And I think the most interesting thing, Reese, is if Bradley Beal is on that number 2 line, then have your antennas up that he could be on the move.
And Bradley Beal celebrating his 19th birthday today as well, so he might not know exactly where he's going once his name is called, depending on how all of these rumors and how much is smokescreen and how much is true. What do you think the Bobcats, who need a little bit of everything, should do with this second pick?
Well, look, the proposed deal that George Smith mentioned, the 4, the 24, and the 33 from Cleveland for the 2 and the 31, I think that's the type of move they need, because they need good players, a number of good players, and getting 3 draft picks in this deep draft, that could serve them well. They're not sold on any of the 4 or 5 guys that they're considering. It's not Anthony Davis. So they can probably get at 4 what they would get at 2.
Well, and for me, I think they got Ben Gordon. And so now if they take Bradley Beal, where do they all fit in? They have a number of smaller players then. And I think they made that trade with Ben Gordon more for the pick than they did for Ben Gordon. But like you said, they need everything. They stink. And the only way to get better is to get better players, and that's what they're trying to do.
You start looking at all of the ramifications that could trickle down. You wonder what the trades prior to the draft have meant for the strategies, but everything has to fall in behind after the New Orleans Hornets make the number 1 pick. Now, the Hornets played well down the stretch of the season. They didn't necessarily have the best shot at getting the pick. In fact, their chances a little less than 14%. But then everything turned up their way and sent Anthony Davis toward the Big Easy.
The number 1 pick in the 2012 NBA draft goes to the New Orleans Hornets.
We just feel blessed to be in this position. It's great for our city, great for the state of Louisiana.
That's like karma. Won a national championship there, so that's always exciting.
New Orleans right now needs still a lot more help. Between the Saints and the Hornets, wow, no telling what's going to happen.
One thing that is going to happen, Anthony Davis will return to the scene of his great college triumph when he led Kentucky to the national championship. Jay, when you look at Anthony Davis and then the rest of the draft behind it, how do you characterize the draft?
This is a draft full of good players. I don't know that there's a lot of separation between 2 and 12, and that you can't get a player in the second round that's as good as you could get toward the end of the first round. There's not a ton of separation between 20 and 40, really. So you can get starters, you can get rotation players in this draft. I'm not sure you can get as many stars as we've had in years past. This isn't like 2003. But the one gem I think everybody agrees upon is Anthony Davis of Kentucky. He's a player that's unique, that you don't see very often because he can impact the game in a really positive way without ever taking a shot. He's got defensive range. He's got great length. He's got a wingspan of 7'5", and he's very athletic, and he can really move his feet. He covers a lot of ground. He's blocked around 40 jump shots on the season, including 15 three-point shots. Now, just to put that in context, he's blocked more jump shots than Jared Sullinger has blocked shots overall. He's very, very skilled. A couple of years ago, he's a 6'3" guard. He's got tremendous hands. He can shoot the ball. I think he's just scratching the surface of how good of an offensive player he can be in the future. But those hands, he's got the best hands of anybody in the draft. I think he's going to continue to get better and better. And the thing I like best about him is he competes and he keeps his mouth shut. He just wants to play.
Jeff, how do you assess the impact that a guy, he's still young, he's only recently grown to this height, the type of impact that he'll be able to have in his first year in the league?
Well, I think it'll be immediate, but I think everybody needs to temper their expectations to let him mature at his own pace. Jay talks about his skill level. That's unquestioned. But what I like is his demeanor, his maturity, his unselfishness, and that he's been coached very hard at Kentucky by John Calipari. So I think he's got a lot of things going for him. But to expect greatness from the start, I think you just have to make sure you temper those expectations.
And we've talked about trying to get guys around him, too. For the first time in franchise history, Chris, they have 2 lottery picks. They've got to pick at number 10. What direction should they go to try to find someone to go with Anthony Davis?
Well, outside of Eric Gordon at the 2 guard and Davis at the 4, they need all 3 other 3 positions. So they're looking at either Austin Rivers, if he's there. They think he can be their point guard next to Gordon. Or if they have to go big because Rivers is gone, they're looking at Meyers Leonard. So I think they'll make a good move either way because they need a big and a point.
Hey, look, here's how good Anthony Davis is. He only scored 14 points a game on a talent-laden Kentucky team. Anthony Davis made the unibrow fashionable. Anthony Davis needed to trademark a unibrow. You fear the brow, raise the brow. He said he didn't want people trying to grow unibrows and then making money off of them just because he had one. Now that is some serious clout. The Kentucky fans embraced this. His mom even wore a fake unibrow to a game this year. And the guy who's going to go number 1 overall, the great star from Kentucky, is standing by with Mark Jones.
Hey, it's all about a little bit of capitalism now, right? Tell us how you ended up trademarking that phrase.
Yeah, my agents and my parents talked it over, and they came at me with the idea, and I loved it. Who doesn't love money? So,
So tell me, every time that it comes out of my mouth or Reese Davis's mouth or anyone else's mouth, you have to have someone cut the check. Is that right?
Yeah, you guys have to pay me. Coming out of you guys' pockets.
Hey, tell me, how much of a feel have you gotten for the city of New Orleans? I know you didn't get a chance to see it when you were playing there for a national championship, but on your visit, characterize it for us.
Yeah, it was a great city. They showed me what Hurricane Katrina hit, where their levees broke. Great owner, great practice facility, great organization. If I get drafted there, I'll be really happy.
All right, good luck tonight. And, guys, I'm told by Dell Demps, the general manager of New Orleans, that he consumed a whole pot and then some of gumbo, so he's already acquired a taste of New Orleans. Back to you.
Master shot blocker is going to head up a list of Kentucky players who are going to be drafted tonight. Never before in the common draft era have 6 players gone in the first 2 rounds of the draft. It's possible that 5 Wildcats could have their name called in the first round if Deron Lamb moves in to the first 30 picks of this draft.
I'm Anthony Davis.
I'm Kidd-Gilchrist.
Terrence Jones. I'm Marcus T. Deron Lamb. I'm Darius Miller, and you're watching the NBA Draft
on ESPN.
Genuine aged Appleton Estate Jamaica rum. Live exceptional.
Don't think of it as a stop. Think of it as another chance to go. Try new, stronger STP Complete Fuel System Cleaner and make the stop more about the go.
Hey, basketball fans, this is Keel Agassi from NBA TV Canada, along with my friend Matthew, Victor Minster of the Raptors Basketball Academy, and of course Michael, and we'll be teaching you some of the things you'll learn at the Raptors Basketball Academy. Okay, Victor, what are we working on today?
We're working on proper mechanics, shooting mechanics. So we want to start the player really close to the basket. And every time he's able to perform the proper mechanics, he's going to take one step back. So we want to key on three things. We want to make sure his knees are flexed. We want to make sure his hands and his elbows are properly placed. And we make sure he looks at the basket at all times. And the reason we do that is because in order to play basketball, you must develop your shooting fundamentals throughout your whole basketball career.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed your Raptors Basketball Academy training tip for today. And sign up for the Raptors Basketball Academy. Victor will be there to make sure you have a great experience. And you go to www.raptorsbasketballacademy.com.
Join us for Breakfast at Wimbledon, Saturday at 7 on TSN. At 12:01 on Canada Day, the frenzy begins as this year's crop of NHL free agents hit the open market. Join the TSN hockey experts as they break down who's going where. Free Agent Frenzy. Canada Day starting at noon.
Green room is where the lottery picks, we assume, will sit and wait. 14 players have been invited to attend here in the Prudential Center in Newark, and here is the lottery order for tonight. You know, New Orleans, Charlotte off the top. Charlotte's talking about moving the deal. Washington is sitting there at number 3, while the Cavaliers are trying to get into that 2 spot. From what we understand, they greatly covet Bradley Beal to go with Kyrie Irving, the Rookie of the Year. Sacramento's also been involved in talks. They are sitting at number 5, about perhaps trading down. Houston is trying to move up. The Rockets are sitting at number 12. They have 3 picks in the first round. The first one now has moved into the lottery after the Sam Dallenberg deal moved them into the number 12 spot. So all of this, you have to figure out who's best available, who to pick, and who better to ask than Jay Billis and Fran Fraschilla.
Well, Reese, we're here in front of the Jay Billis best available list with Fran Fraschilla, who's going to have his Fran Fraschilla's Jay Billis. Are you kidding me? You know, you're absolutely wrong on all this. But it starts out, I think we both agree that Anthony Davis is the first pick, and rightfully so. He's a heck of a prospect.
I agree. You know what, Jay? I don't know if he's Bill Russell, Tim Duncan, or Larry Nance, but I know this. There's a chance 10 years from now we'll be talking about him as one of the transcendent players of the decade.
A lot of people have said the draft really begins at the second pick, and on the best available list, I've got Bradley Beal as the next best available prospect out of Florida. An outstanding shooting guard. He's got great shooting form, terrific range. He can put the ball on the floor. Not really dynamic off pick and rolls yet. He's got to work on that, but he can defend, and he's also a really good guard rebounder.
I agree completely. Great attitude as well. Thing about him at number 2 for Charlotte is he may not fit. I love him at 3 with John Wall and possibly at 4 with Kyrie Irving. He won't have to handle the ball as much.
Absolutely. At number 3 on my best available list, I've got Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Now, he's not a shooter. He's not known as a scorer. He gets all his points off his energy and his relentless attitude and approach to the game. I'm not sure there's a harder worker in this draft than Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, and his defensive versatility makes him a great get in this draft.
I agree. I've watched him on tape also. The shot is not broken. He's going to spend a lot of time on that. And Jeff Van Gundy talked about playing hard and being hard coached by John Calipari. Great guy for a winning culture.
Yeah, and you always talk about playing hard as a skill, and that kid is skilled in playing hard. At number 4, I've got Thomas Robinson. Now, he could wind up going number 2 if Charlotte keeps the pick, and Charlotte could wind up with him if it becomes a trade situation. But Thomas Robinson is a high-volume rebounder, especially on the defensive glass. I think he's the best defensive rebounder in this draft. And of all these players, he might be the most NBA-ready today.
I like that idea. You know what he reminds me of? A young David West. I think wherever he goes, he's going to a rebuilding team. He's going to get you 17-9 from the get-go.
Then we go with Harrison Barnes at number 5. And Barnes, an elite jump shooter, terrific at the mid-range. He's got a really good size, and I was actually surprised. I thought he was a great athlete in high school. Man, I thought it might have missed him in college, that maybe he wasn't as great of an athlete, but tested off the charts at the combine with a 38-inch standing vertical. That's really unusual for somebody his size.
Well, he really is, and you know how I feel. He's got to work on his footwork a little bit, which he'll get a lot of time to do in the NBA. I think he's going to be a Robin type of player. Not necessarily Batman, but a 10, 12-year pro.
And a couple guys that could crash this party in the top 5. Dion Waiters of Syracuse, also Andre Drummond of UConn, just a freak athlete. His offense isn't there yet, but he is NBA ready as an athlete right now.
Jay, there's no question about that. Drummond is huge. He's not even 19 years old yet, and some teams really covet him as a guy who has as much upside as perhaps anyone in this draft. Cleveland, has been said, really wants to get up to that number 2 spot and get Bradley Beal. Now, it remains to be seen whether they're able to do that. But in terms of trying to rebuild that organization and rebuild that team, from what you've seen and what they're attempting to do, is that the right path to take to try to find another guard, another shooter to go with Kyrie Irving?
Well, it makes sense. If you have an elite point guard, which they do in Kyrie Irving, to pair him with a reliable player who can shoot it, rebound it, put the ball on the ground a little bit, and have them be the same age as they're growing together, it makes complete sense for Cleveland.
And now, if they go in that direction, if Cleveland goes up ahead of Washington, how do you think it impacts the Wizards' plans and what they should do?
Well, it does impact them because they want Bradley Beal as well. They look at their roster, and they need a shooter to stretch the floor so John Wall can have lanes to penetrate. If Bradley Beal's not there, yes, they like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. They like Thomas Robinson. They don't need Thomas Robinson with Emeka Okafor and Nene, who they just traded for, those two guys. So that impacts what they do. Harrison Barnes could end up being the guy because he at least can shoot the basketball better than Kidd-Gilchrist.
And Washington also looking to build around their guard in John Wall as well. Thomas Robinson's hometown is Washington, D.C., and he perhaps will not wind up going to D.C. as perhaps some had thought. But Thomas Robinson, if character matters, there is no greater character player in this draft. In the span of 25 days, a little over a year ago, he lost his grandparents and then his mother, Lisa, most expectedly. Thomas Robinson has a sister, Jayla, who is now 9 years old, and Thomas has promised to take care of her. In fact, he planted a tree not too far away from Fog Allen Fieldhouse on the campus of the University of Kansas in honor of his mother, Lisa. And underneath that tree, he buried a letter to her in which he promised that everything would be okay with Jayla. And once he signs that NBA contract, he's going to get Jayla anything she wanted for her birthday. He announced his intention to go pro on Jayla's 9th birthday, and the Jayhawk star who had such a fantastic season standing by with Heather Cox.
Reese, thanks so much. Thomas, just how significant is tonight, considering everything you've been through over the last year and a half?
It's amazing for me. To walk across that stage, I feel like I got over every hurdle and everything that was thrown in my way.
What do you think your mom and grandparents would think of you tonight?
They'd be very happy. I probably couldn't explain the words, but I know they'd be happy.
Reese just talked about that promise that you made. How much will it mean for you to know that Jayla's future will be secure?
I was a man of my word. I made it to the night, and that was my promise. And I just got to keep going from here.
Enjoy tonight, every minute of it. Thanks so much, Thomas. Reese?
All right, Heather, there is no more beloved figure in Jayhawk history than Thomas Robinson. The Kansas family just reached out and embraced him, and he rewarded them with a remarkable junior season this past year. When we continue counting down to the NBA draft, Commissioner Sturman will be at the bottom of the hour. We'll give you an update on Jared Sullinger.
I'm Jared Sullinger. You're watching the NBA draft on ESPN.
Only Virgin Mobile members get exclusive access and deals with our awesome partners. Are you missing out? Virgin Mobile. It's better to be a member.
One sunrise. More beauty. One bomb. More envy. One recovery. More celebration. One bunker. More bunkers. One putt. More birdies. ClubLink. One membership. More golf.
Here's the reality of it. You're on the line between breaking point and breaking through. Now get over that line!
When I throw a backyard barbecue, I start with a few friends. Then I add music, the refreshing taste of Smirnoff Ice Light, and here's to whatever's next. Smirnoff Ice Light, less sweet, 100 calories.
When I throw a party at the cottage, I start with a few friends. Then I add music, the refreshing taste of Smirnoff Ice, and here's to whatever's next. Smirnoff Ice, a refreshing taste of summer.
Car companies go to extremes to clear out their cars. But when you're the fastest growing car company in Canada, you don't need to. First, there's the Optima, the 2012 Motoring Car of the Year. Then there's the all-new fuel-efficient Rio and Forte with an impressive list of standard features. And of course, the Sorento with its available 7-passenger seating. The Sportage, an IIHS top safety pick. And the fuel-efficient Soul. Yep, why go to extremes when you offer the best deals on all remaining 2012 models? Whoops.
The NASCAR Nationwide Series heads to the Bluegrass State, where Elliott Sadler, Austin Dillon, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. trying to take their first at Kentucky Speedway. NASCAR Nationwide Series at Kentucky. Coverage begins Friday at 7 p.m. on ESPN2. Well, it's all about Kentucky in this draft and in the NASCAR Nationwide Series as well. Jared Sullinger of Ohio State had a fantastic season, but leading up to the draft, some medical concerns about his back have caused Sullinger to slide down draft boards. He's not here in Newark tonight. Andy Katz joins us. Andy, what's the latest on the former Buckeye star?
Well, after the Chicago pre-draft camp, ESPN.com's Chad Ford reported that medical reports were red flagged by a number of NBA teams saying that he had bulging discs. Now, I spoke with his father, Satch Sullinger, shortly after that. He refuted that, saying that he actually just had some muscle issues, and he's been doing a great job recuperating from that. Remember, during the season, he did miss that Kansas game due to back spasms. In fact, Ohio State head coach Thad Matta told me when he saw him work out recently, he said he was moving better than ever. Now, as you said, Sullinger not here in Newark. He's back in Columbus watching the NBA draft. And what's interesting is, of the 4 heralded sophomores who returned for their college basketball sophomore season, only one was invited here in the green room. That is Harrison Barnes from North Carolina, Terrence Jones from Kentucky, Perry Jones III from Baylor, both choosing to come on their own. Sullinger back in Columbus. But he's expected to go somewhere in the 20s, maybe as high as 18. So Sullinger not expected to drop out of the first round despite these reports. Reese?
All right, Andy, and Sullinger, a productive player, presents such a conundrum for general managers, front office types. That's why we have Tom Penn. He ran the show for the Blazers for a number of years. Tom, how do you assess a guy who's been productive but has some injury issues?
Medical information's tricky because we're not doctors. You have to probe, you have to question, you have to talk to the subspecialists. Think about that. If you've ever been to a specialist, you get 3 different answers from 3 different specialists. Critically important you dig into this. Every body reacts differently, too. The players can behave differently with a back issue, with a knee issue. As you go further in the draft, your risk tolerance goes up, and you're more likely to take this player, but it's a challenge for all front offices.
Could even wind up working out well for the player at times, too. He might get into a better situation for him, so we'll keep an eye on Jared Sullinger's stock throughout the night on the NBA draft. We're just about set to put the New Orleans Hornets on the clock, and it won't be much longer until Anthony Davis hears his name called as the number 1 pick in the draft and the first Wildcat to be chosen on a night in which 6 Kentucky players will go in the draft.
This program is brought to you by Air Canada, proud to fly you to over 175 destinations worldwide. Recently voted the best international airline in North America by Skytrax. Book now at aircanada.com.